today for this opportunity to connect with our Canada InfoNet clients. You are a manager of settlements and a multiculturalism with the Government of New Brunswick, and you've been with the Canada InfoNet program pre-arrival services since 2010 as mentor. Thank you for accepting to answer a few questions regarding mentoring, your experience, and also some tips how to arrive in Canada prepared. So my first question would be, Stephen, you have been working with newcomers for a while now. How do you think mentorship impacts their integration?
Well, thank you, Reem. I think it probably doesn't take one to have too much imagination to appreciate the potential impact that it would have for someone to be able to speak to a professional in a similar or the same career in the new country which you're about to move to and call home. To get that local insight, be connected to their network, can be very key in terms of one's success in Canada and speed up the process. I've seen academic research that shows undisputably mentorship really speeds up the professional integration for newcomers, and also really gives you a chance to hone in opportunities, either predetermined ones or ones you may not have otherwise considered. I think of an individual I mentored recently. They did procurement work for the government of Germany in Africa. And through our conversations, I was able to understand what the procurement work that they had done before, and then translate in that in meaningful terms. Okay, well, that would be this type of procurement here. So that's one thing. So to translate what might be relevant here, but also I would know of a large firm that actually does those types of things. And I mentioned it to them. And even though they had been here for a while, this is a post-arrival mentor, they didn't know about this firm that has lots of these jobs. So I think that's a very acute example of what the benefits of mentorship are. You know, also on top of that, just having a trusted confidant to ask those questions to is critically important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's very valuable information. I know you work for the government of New Brunswick. So could you share some information about employment opportunities in New Brunswick? And also, what makes it a good destination for immigrants to settle in?
Sure. And we were chatting a little bit this before. And what I'll share is mostly my own personal opinion rather than a formal statement from the province. But and that's also because I think from an immigration newcomer perspective, you need to have also a broader view, as we talked about, right? So Canada, as most people will know, is a very advanced economy, immense natural resources, a safe and strong economy and society, but one that needs people from elsewhere to help to be able to support its growth and prosperity. So really the opportunities in some regards are across the country. Now, there are those unique locales where certain opportunities might be more plentiful in one occupation rather than the other, but generally across the country, things such as information technology, healthcare, financial services, even skilled trades, hospitality, it's really very common across the country. And you could work for whatever national bank in any of the provinces, but here, say in this province, maybe there's a concentration of back office work or IT. So it really much depends upon what someone's particular experience is, but also what they're looking for both professionally and personally. Okay, so perhaps someone before coming to Canada worked for a large multinational financial corporation. You can do that in this province and in any province, but because you're trying out a new venture, perhaps you might want to consider doing IT for a startup. So it depends, like, where are you in the stage of your career and your journey, and what things are you willing to consider? Because you need to have a full perspective. write down the things, take time to write down what do you value, what are you trying to accomplish, and then do the research to also determine where best to go. But basically, in some regards, although wages and the precise opportunities will vary, the opportunities will be the same in some regards here as it is elsewhere. So it's what are the pieces that you want for your job and your life, and to kind of it relates to, I know you're going to ask me the next one. I'll just kind of actually bridge right into this because they're connected, about why New Brunswick, say, compared to Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver. And it's I've worked in immigration for more than 10 years, but I myself have not had a lived immigrant experience. So I'll best refer to my own experience, but hopefully in a relatable way for a newcomer experience. So I grew up in Nova Scotia. I did some education in New Brunswick, back and forth between the two places. Lived in Toronto for 6 or 7 years. My time in Toronto was very special to me. Worked for a wonderful organization called JVS Toronto. And in each of those places, those locales offered something to me that I needed at that point. It was still on me to materialize and make that happen. But there are different stages where I prioritized different things. So at a certain point, I decided Toronto was right for me in my career. And then moving to New Brunswick, there are a number of factors. But I now have 2 young children, and I value them. They're my major priority, not that my career is not, but I have a lovely home with lots of space and a yard for them, and I spend as much time with them as I can because I don't have to commute as long. And so what makes any place, including this province, different or advantageous to the more known places like Toronto is what does it fit in terms of your life path, professional and personal? And I will also give an example of a Canadian InfoNet mentor that I had, and we were talking about him earlier, originally from Morocco, lived and worked in London, England, basically was tired of riding the tube. So he decided New Brunswick was the place. He likes outdoor sports activities. He wanted his 2 young children to have the opportunity to live in both in the only officially bilingual province in the country, so English and French. So his kids, his lifestyle, and his and the things that he wants in terms of the career were all priorities for him, and that's why he chose this province as his destination. So it's more than just, again, I said it earlier, it's more than just your professional. It's that whole comprehensive part of your life, because we're more than just our occupation, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. And the next question is really related to this one. And since immigration destination as a destination for many clients and immigrants, top of head is Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver are top destinations. However, my question is, if you can share some tips on the advantages of exploring opportunities in other Canadian regions.
Certainly. Well, this is backed up by research that I've seen that in smaller jurisdictions, newcomers can have some better settlement and employment outcomes, because it's, I guess, for lack of a better way, well, I'll put it in my terms. So all that experience I gained in other provinces, and including in Toronto, although I work in a niche area in immigration, so there aren't a plethora of opportunities anywhere, but here also. But because I have that experience that I've gained elsewhere, it makes me highly competitive for those few jobs, which enabled me to get my current position. And that's exactly like a newcomer. You're coming in, and you can be, if you can demonstrate to the prospective employer that skills and abilities that you have, you're the top candidate because you have all that experience. Where perhaps in a larger center, there are many people with similar backgrounds. So you although the opportunities may not be as abundant, you become a more top priority in smaller centers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, my last question is if you can share some job search tips for new Canadians who are to arrive in Canada.
Sure. And just one final note, when I say it may not be abundance, it depends on your sector, of course. If you're in IT or finance, there's lots of opportunities here and elsewhere. But so 3, I'll start with, so pre-arrival services. take all that you can, including mentorship, and through Canada InfoNet, that's key. And I mean take all. So do Canada InfoNet and do what other ones that are relevant for you. You have to layer them for optimal success. So that's tip number one. Tip number two would be, even if you lived in a city like London, England, where it's highly global and multicultural, or you work for a firm that's highly multicultural, just because you're around people from various cultures and may have experience with it, you may not know the impact about culture on communication and in the workplace. So I would say search out some, I'm sure there's things on Coursera or other free courses you can take online. Learn about the impact about culture on communication in the workplace, but also specifically in Canada, because Canada is quite unique. As you probably have experienced, we do things in our own unique way. So it's one thing to have been around people, but to study the impact about cultural influence on communication, I think is to me one of the most critical things one ought to do before they arrive. So I would say that for two. The third one is a little bit outside of job, but I think critically important, and that is, again, not having lived experience, but having been around immigration for a long time, I can safely say that, like other life experiences, being an immigrant will have ups and it will have downs. So through that journey, invest time into your well-being, your health, your physical and mental well-being. Do yoga, take mindfulness, exercise, do those things, because there, like I said, there will be ups and there will be downs. And if that all supports all the other things that you will do, and to make it a priority, because if you don't, you risk, when those low points hit you, you're not in a strong place to be able to overcome them, or not as strong a place. There are online resources you can do, some cognitive-based therapy apps that are wonderful at supporting people, but make it a regular part of your routine, because it is a process and you need to take care of your physical and mental well-being. So that would be the third one that I would say.
Thank you so much. This is very, very valuable, and I really appreciate the fact that, yes, in Canada, you can be also a sort of newcomer in terms of moving from one province to another based on the needs and your goals. That's really, really relates to many newcomers. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, that's a very important point. I grew up on the eastern part of the country, then it was a small province, total million population, city of 300,000. Then I moved to Toronto, and the financial hub and the really economic center of the country. And even though it's the same country, there's differences in culture, and I certainly have learned that here in New Brunswick, that there are many wonderful aspects, the bilingualism, but there are uniquenesses even across the country. So it's an opportunity to find where you best fit. So put some time and really, like I said, write it down. What are the things that you value and you are priorities for you, and then determine, through a mentor or through other means, where might be the best place. And like I said, research shows that newcomers that explore places outside of larger centers can have success, and we certainly see that here. And I certainly hope and wish all the success for Canada InfoNet and for you and JVS Toronto.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and sharing with the clients and many newcomers these valuable tips and information. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.